We finally have all the clues and tips from the game makers to figure out what the prototype is really supposed to look like. Starting with official messages from the game devs and going through all the information we have now about the prototype, we will put all those pieces together and reveal the true form of the prototype. The game makers shared important details about some models they made, which are linked to what we know about the prototype. We were looking for proof of a big mix of parts that matched what we were told before, and recently, we found something that matches perfectly. A top designer for Poppy Playtime showed off some special designs that matter, including things we've seen in the game like a rocket launcher and the phone we talked to Ollie with. Then, they showed us another design that's even more interesting. Could it be the prototype? About how the prototypes really look, it's a strange mix of toy parts with Candy Cat's head and Catnap's ear. I wasn't the only one who thought this design was cool. Other Poppy Playtime fans started saying why this model is important. They think this design is part of the prototype because it has a robotic arm just like the one we've seen on the prototype before. Why would the game's top artists and designers show us this model out of all the ones in Chapter 3? This one was chosen for a special reason. When we look closer at the details, everything starts to make sense. In Chapter 2, we discover a tape hidden away in Bay 09, a small room primarily used for returning to the game station. Listening to the tape unveils a harrowing incident with the prototype, who almost managed to escape. Ingeniously, the prototype took apart a digital alarm clock in its enclosure, using the battery and other bits to create a laser pointer. He then used this homemade tool to temporarily knock out the surveillance camera, going unnoticed for a short while. Once the camera came back on, the room seemed to be empty, leading a scientist to check on the prototype. To their relief, the prototype was indeed still in the room, smartly hiding where the camera couldn't see. Spotting an opportunity, the prototype tried to rush past the scientist and flee through an briefly unlocked door. Luckily, another scientist outside the containment zone swiftly locked the door remotely, preventing the escape. Sadly, the scientist who entered the room wasn't spared and was overtaken by the prototype. This event highlights the extreme risks associated with the experiment. Mommy Longlegs seemed truly scared of the prototype. Her screams as she was dragged into the grinder showed she was scared of being turned into a part of him, revealing she knew about the prototype's plan to make himself stronger by using parts from others, showing that the prototype has changed since we last saw Mommy Longlegs. We don't know if he used parts from Huggy Wuggy, as Huggy's fall deep into Playtime Co. probably broke him into bits that couldn't be identified. Even so, we expect the prototype to have incorporated some aspect of Mommy Longlegs, leading us to wonder exactly what he might have used from her. Considering her unique ability to extend her limbs with extraordinary strength, enough to snatch several staff members with a single arm, it would make sense for the prototype to want to use her arms and legs. Yet, it appears he only took her torso and right arm, leaving her other limbs to be destroyed by the grinder. This indicates that the prototype could be aiming to extend his reach using one of her arms while keeping his original arm. Since this is the only hint we have about what happened to Mommy Longlegs after her encounter with the grinder, it seems likely that this could be what happened. I believe Catnap will play a significant role in boosting the prototype's powers, mainly because the prototype has access to Catnap's whole body, including his respiratory system that produces red smoke. Catnap doesn't just store this smoke, he breathes it out naturally. With the prototype's advanced intelligence, it's likely he could take this unique trait from Catnap and add it to his own set of skills. Thinking more about it, besides the red smoke, the prototype could also make use of Catnap's limbs for their sharp claws and quickness, further improving his physical abilities. Among the characters, the smiling critters come to mind, but honestly, it's highly unlikely they'd be of any use to the prototype. We barely understand their capabilities post-Bigger Bodies initiative, and considering how quickly they were eliminated, the prototype probably doesn't value them. Plus, there's a strong suggestion that Piggy devoured all the smiling critters, so the prototype wouldn't have been able to use them even if he wanted to. However, there's the case of Dog Day, whose legs were severed as punishment for encouraging an escape from Playcare at Playtime Co. It seems unlikely he would be incorporated into the prototype, primarily since his legs were removed for torture. Yet, when we find Dog Day in his cell, his legs are missing, implying they might have been taken for another purpose or possibly consumed by Catnap and the mini smiling critters. However, considering the possibility that the prototype was the one who attacked Kissy Missy, the idea starts to fit together for a specific reason. I previously mentioned that Huggy Wuggy met his end by falling into the depths of Playtime Co. likely leaving his remains undiscovered. It might not have been in the prototype's plan for Huggy Wuggy to die like that, as he probably hoped to harvest something from him to enhance his own strength. Kissy Missy, who is essentially Huggy Wuggy's twin with only her color and gentler demeanor setting her apart, could offer the prototype something valuable. If the prototype were to choose something from Kissy Missy, her mouth, filled with sharp needle-like teeth, stands out as the most beneficial feature. These teeth could become a lethal weapon for the prototype, should he need to confront anyone else. Adding another name to the list, we have Miss Delight, but honestly, she doesn't have much that would interest the prototype. Her weapon isn't particularly useful either, considering the prototype's own claw can easily take down other toys. It's essentially just a collection of sharpened colored pencils tied to a brain. Bunzo Bunny also doesn't make the cut for a couple of reasons. Firstly, he doesn't offer any notable advantages, and secondly, he met his end at the hands of Mommy Longlegs. With his body missing post-mortem, it's likely he was consumed. Now that we have all the pieces in front of us, it's the perfect moment to theorize about the prototype's appearance after Chapter 3. Our key piece of evidence is Catnap's shrine. Right before we enter the playhouse, we spot Catnap paying homage to this bizarre collection of toy parts. Upon reaching Playcare's heart, Ollie reveals that Catnap crafted it in honor of the prototype. Something Ollie mentioned really caught my attention. Let's delve into that.
If you thought that was terrifying, just wait until you see the real thing.
Does this mean Catnap and Ollie have actually seen the prototype? Ollie's remarks hint that Catnap tried to create a statue that looks like the prototype, but it doesn't quite capture the prototype's spooky, true look. Using this attempt as a clue to the prototype's design, a closer look at the shrine gives us some fascinating insights. It seems Catnap used a part of Mommy Longlegs, with her arm and hand visible on the statue, possibly mimicking the prototype's arm, along with other pieces added to what might be his outer shell. Interestingly, we see a worker's skeleton sticking out from PJ Pugapillar's mouth, making us wonder if the prototype might be using parts from his victims. Also, the appearance of several mini smiling critters, who we thought were siding with Catnap and the prototype to avoid their end, complicates the picture. Despite all the chaos, one thing seems sure. The prototype will have recognizable parts from others once his plan is fully revealed. But what do you think the prototype will look like? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more theories about the Poppy Playtime. Thanks for watching.